We can get more control over the layout of our report by allowing the ReportWizard to walk us through the process of collecting and organizing our data. Let's create another employee phone number report using the wizard. I'm going to go up to the Create tab and go to ReportWizard here. The ReportWizard starts, and I get to choose the source of my data. In the drop-down, notice you can choose from any of your tables, or scrolling down, any of your queries. I'm going to use the employee phone number query that we created earlier. Now we can add the available fields to our selected fields to use in the report. The order here is important though, so make sure you choose last name and move that over, and then first name, move that over, then number, and then type. Go ahead and say next. Access has identified the relationship between our names and phone numbers and suggested this is a layout where we group our last names together and then our phone numbers will appear under that. The other option here, by employee phone, will list them with each phone number on its own line. I'm going to choose by employees. Go ahead and say next. We can add additional groupings here if we'd like, but we don't need to do that, so go ahead and say next. Next, we're going to sort our numbers based off of their type so that they stay in a consistent order. Go ahead and say next. We have some options here for how our report will lay out. I can choose either a step, block, or outline format, and you can see a sort of preview here on the left. I'm going to choose stepped. We can choose our paper orientation as either portrait or landscape. I'm going to leave it as portrait. And finally, we have a checkbox here to adjust the field widths so that all the fields fit on a page. I'm going to go ahead and leave that on. Go ahead and say next. We can give our report a title. I'm going to call it Employee Phone List. And finally, we get to choose whether we want to preview the report or modify the design. I'll leave it on preview and say finish. And that'll take us into print preview view with our report. Even though this is the same data as the report that we used in the previous movie, the report has a very different look. Now each employee is only listed a single time, and their phone numbers are listed multiple times below that. Now we have a different problem though. The alternating row color that Access puts in here is making it a little more difficult to distinguish each section. Let's continue refining the layout here using the layout tools. I'm going to close the print preview with this button here on the ribbon. That'll switch me into design view. Using the view button here, I'll change it back to layout view. And if it's open, I'm going to close the field list to give myself some more room. Now we need to remove the alternating row colors. I'll click on this first one here, and on the Format tab, Alternating Row Color, I'm going to change that to No Color. There's also an alternating row color on our names. So I'll click one that's active, alternate row color, and again, no color. Now I can change it to a standardized color for our name so that every single name has a different colored bar. That'll help separate the different sections of our report. Instead of an alternate row color, I'm going to go up to Shape Fill and choose this light green color here. Now I can see that there's a white background between my names. I'll click on the last name here, shift click on the first one, and change their background color to the same green. Finally, I can make our fonts bold here, and I want to give them a little bit more space above. So what I can do is drag down to increase the width of the bar, and then go up to the top edge, and when I get this double-headed arrow, I'll drag down to reposition that towards the bottom so that I have a larger bar separating each employee's name. Now that our employees are taken care of, let's go ahead and finalize our report by adjusting some of the options up here in the header. First, I'm going to click on this employee phone list, and I'm going to move it over using my arrow keys. That'll give me room now to put in a logo. On the Design tab, I'll press the Logo button here. Then I'll browse out to my desktop and into my exercise folder. We're in Chapter 9, and I'm going to choose the Recycle Bug logo. Go ahead and say OK, and Access puts that in the background. Now I'll change the background color of my header by clicking over here to select the header. I'll go to Format, Shape Fill, and choose White. Then I'll change the color of this bar here to a darker green. Shape Fill, and I'm going to choose this dark green down here. And finally, I'm going to change the color of the labels by selecting each one by shift clicking and changing their font color here to white. I'll make them bold so they stand out more, and then I'll adjust the names here by double clicking and putting in some spaces. Great. So that's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and see what this looks like on the printed page. I'll go back to the Design tab here and switch my view to Print Preview. Now I can see what this looks like. I can zoom out to see the whole page, zoom in, scroll up and down to take a look, and when I'm done, I can close Print Preview. Let's go ahead and save the changes here, and that'll save it down in our navigation pane here. The Report Wizard was able to get us a little closer to a report that is formatted in the way that we would like. With a little additional help tweaking the results in Layout View, we were able to arrive at a neatly formatted phone list that can be printed out and distributed to our employees.